So let's move on to some more basics about what we put when we script a speech. So when we talk about speech purpose, why do you give a speech? There are four main reasons which Toastmasters mentions about, right? That you give a speech either to entertain, to inform, to persuade, or to inspire. These are the four types of speeches or the four speech purposes. Now, that does not mean every speech has only one of these. Every speech could have all of these in different combinations. But the real good part about script writing is that you decide where you want to use these most effectively. Now, don't fret. I'm going to give you a format which will help you to apply these four principles at the right moments in your speech, which will help you get the desired impact from your audience. Right? So this is the basic chart of speech organization which Toastmasters talks about. On the left side, you can see opening, body, conclusion, basic, opening, body, and closing, right? The opening, as you know, is the introduction part where it's roughly around 15% of the time that you have, right? So maybe around 45 seconds, 1 minute, whatever it may be. 15% roughly is what the opening is. Now, at this point of time, you want to do two things. One is you want to grab the audience's attention. We already know that. That's what the opening is meant for. So you want to be somewhat entertaining at this point of time. Entertaining does not mean humor or does not mean tell a joke. Entertain just means get the audience's attention, keep them interested, bring something interesting, bring something shocking, bring something that would keep the audience engaged. In the second part of your introduction, you want to inform them about what's coming up next. Draw them into your story, draw them into your message, get them hooked onto it, right? So ideally, you would want to have sentences which entertain and sentences which inform in your opening. Now we move on to the body of the speech. The body of the speech, you know, you have your points. And how do we deliver our points? Through our stories, right? So I've given 3 here. You don't have to have 3 stories. You could have just one single story. That is completely up to you, depending upon the size of your story and how you are placing it. You could have maybe just 1 story or 2 stories. That's completely up to you. The big arrows are, of course, your transitions. Now, this forms the bulk of your speech, right? 70% of your speech. So here, obviously, you're telling them the story. So you're informing them of what happened. You want to keep them engrossed in your speech. You want to keep them engaged. So you have to be entertaining as well. So you will have some humor at appropriate times. You will have some adventure in your stories. You'll have descriptive words which keep them interested. You'll have some maybe questions to the audience, etc. The last part is you want to be persuasive. Here is where you're conveying your point to them. Persuasion is like a sales pitch, right? When you're trying to sell something to somebody, you're convincing them that your thought or your idea or your product for that point is what they need, right? Is what they want. So here you're trying to be persuasive. This is where your message to the audience comes in. Your call to action, etc. comes in here. When you go to the closing, you're completing your call to action, you're explaining your realizations, and then you're giving them the hardcore message. So here you're persuasive and you want to inspire them to, you know, adopt your message and achieve something greater. So you're trying to be inspiring it. So this is how you could structure your scripting such that you're able to incorporate these techniques at the right places to have the maximum impact. Now, this is not enough. Script writing is all about decorating your speech such that you're able to maximize the impact that you have with your audience, right? The first point here is foundation phrase. Can anybody tell me some foundation phrases they have heard from Toastmaster speeches? Either you can put it in the chat or you could unmute yourself and just shout it out. Any famous foundation phrases?
I see something in you.
I see something in you. Absolutely right, DTM Harish. Anybody else has any foundation phrase that they have heard? Perhaps the most famous one, which is non-Toastmaster, is I have a dream. Yeah. Anyone knows who said that? I have a dream. Hearing something, but yeah.
With Martin Luther?
Martin Luther King Jr. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. So most of the speeches that you hear will have some, phrase which is repeated multiple times. For example, Ramona J. Smith, in her winning speech, she had "still standing," which she repeated multiple times. And even if you see Muhammad Ghaitani, have words have power. So these are all, sentences that were repeated. If you see
One of those days.
one of those days.
in
Yeah, one of those days. That's it's just one of those days. Yeah, these are all words which are catchy. The core structure of a foundation phrase is that it's less number of words, but it has a certain ring to it. It has a certain rhythm to it, right? So it sounds good, it sounds memorable, and that's what makes a foundation phrase most effective. If you can make it memorable, something that the audience can easily remember and keep with them, then you have the maximum impact from that foundation phrase. The next one is "right for the year." Now, what this means is, all right, can I request if everyone could just mute for a bit until we have the next segue? Yeah, "right for the year" specifically means you use sound words, words that sound good, because the difference between a speech that you're giving on stage or on screen, as we are doing here, and an article or something that you read, is that when you read it, you can reread it again and again until you get that impact, right? Or until you understand it. Whereas on stage, it's just one go. Once that sentence is over, it's over, right? So you've lost the opportunity there. So you want to make sure that you are able to grab the audience's attention, keep them interested, and have that impact with the sentences you write. Sound words. Now, let me give you an example. If I were to say, I was driving down Sheikh Zayed Road and my tire burst and I had to park my car at the side. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Instead of that, I could say, I was driving down Sheikh Zayed Road, bang, my tire burst. The impact is different. The scene is the same, the words are the same, but just by using that sound word "bang," all of a sudden, you've transformed that moment into an actual something that the audience can experience. It's the same if you want to say that, I jumped into the lake, the water was cold. You could say, "splash, we jumped into the lake, brrr, oh, it was freezing." All of a sudden, just by changing a few words there, you've made that an entire scene which can be visualized, which can be felt, which can be heard and experienced by your audience. So when you try to when you're scripting your speech out, try to have places where you're able to create impact using sound words. Splash, bang, or you also have certain rhetoric devices which sound good, like alliterations, etc. When you're repeating a certain sound, all of these are meant to help you write for the year. And decorating your speech with these kind of usages definitely attracts the audience, especially the ones who are more auditory in their senses, towards your speech, and helps you create impact as well. We already mentioned earlier, or rather I already mentioned earlier, about dialogues. So when you put in dialogues when you're scripting your speech, you're converting a narration to a dialogue, right? So you have two characters now, you have some voice modulation coming in. Again, so putting space for these in your script definitely adds a lot of value. And remember, it's not something you're going to convert when you're speaking. It has to be in your script for you to be able to perform it on stage. So when you are scripting it out, remember to try and convert, see where there is an opportunity for you to convert a statement into a dialogue, so that it adds value. And adding these sound words, etc., also makes your script more attractive. The power of 3. So converting things into "I came, I saw, I conquered." If you have alliterations there, it has a certain nice rhythm to it. So there's a gentle flow of that energy when you're using these in the speech, and it creates moments on stage. So you patch it up with a pause and make a powerful statement there with the power of 3. Excellent. It helps you to create a lot of impact. When you're scripting, remember to have expressions and emotions. You have to give yourself time and space to do that on stage. And this is done when you are scripting it. So remember to see which sentences, which words will allow you to touch the emotions of your audience. So use words which are able to create scenes which will allow you to use that. And all of this is done when you're writing your speech, not after you've written your speech, right? So you have to find space there to make sure that you are able to put in emotions, give yourself opportunity for expressions. There are certain words, certain transitions that will allow you to, emote on stage, use your facial expressions, etc. But if those words are not there, or if that scene is just narrated out, then you don't get the opportunity to use your facial expressions. So you create those scenes when you're writing your stories, emotional scenes, emotional moments, and when you bring in characters, like for example, you bring in a sad story or a happy moment, for example, with your mom or with your dad or with your children, all of these, once you craft it into your speech, then you have the opportunity on stage to express. If those are just put as narrations in your speech, then you just breeze through it when you speak. So when you are scripting your speech, that's when you plug in, give yourself the opportunity to do these kind of expressions. If you want to use props, for example, props are a good way of decorating your presentation. Don't put a prop just for the sake of it. If it adds value to your particular moment in the speech, then use it. Now we have Dhananjay Hetirachi here. You see, this is a scene of him throwing that flower right at the end. He starts with that flower as well, right? So that flower added value to him because he started out with, you and I are not very different from this flower. Just like this flower is unique, we are unique. And that was his starting, right? And then he breaks it and all of that. So that prop added value to that moment. That's when the prop is most effective. If you want to say, okay, I was feeling red, and then you show a red t-shirt, it adds no value, nothing at all, right? It's just for the sake of using something you have put there. So props which add value to that particular scene are the ones which are most useful. Pauses, you know that pauses are important, right? Pauses are like catches in cricket matches. They win the game for you. Can anybody give me some moments where pauses could be effective? So where would you plug in your pause when you're delivering your speech? What are some areas where you think we could plug in some pauses? You can either put it on the chat or you could unmute and just shout it out. Where do
after
you
the punchline? After the punchline.
After the punchline of a joke, correct?
Yeah.
Shiva says when we talked about an emotional incident, absolutely right, Shiva. Yes.
And sometime when you tell a very deep thing, give them time to.
When you have a powerful thought or a statement that you want the audience to ponder upon for a bit, a pause is the perfect thing to put there. Absolutely right, Dr. Jaydeep. All right, so we covered three things there. One was emotion, one was punchline, and the third one was a deep thought or a poignant statement. All three are absolutely right. Emotions, when you want the audience to feel it, you make your emotional statement and then you pause right after the last word. So when you do that, it's important to remember that when you're scripting it, make sure that your powerful word is at the end of the sentence. That's the most impactful. If you put it in the middle and then you have a couple of words after that, you are making it weaker, right? The impact is dissolved. It dissipates a little bit. So bring your strongest word at the end of your sentence when you're scripting it, and a pause immediately after that. Second point we talked about was humor. You have a pause before your punchline and after your punchline. Before the punchline, it creates a curiosity, the thought in the mind, which allows you to put in your audience to react, laugh, which is what you want from it. If you continue, then obviously they stop laughing, right? So pause before and after. Poignant statement, you want the audience to ponder over it, think about it, then the pause is most important there. All right, perfect. So let's move on. We've talked a little bit about decorating your speech. Now let's see how we plug this in to our earlier model that we had. Now, if you see the big arrows that we had were transitions. A good way to use the transitions is to have questions to the audience, right? Get the audience involved in your speech by asking them rhetoric questions. Maybe you don't need a response to it, but you just want them to think about it. So see how you can involve the audience. Now, if you remember Dhananjay Hettiarach's speech again, he had that moment where he asked, how many of you have an emotional mother? Put them all together, you get my mom, right? So again, it's just a question. People raise their hands and he responded to it. See if you can get the audience involved in some way in between your speech. This does a lot of advantages. One is, you know that they're still with you over 7 minutes. So have something in between where they're involved, something for them to do. All right. Now let's move on. This is you had the old model that I showed you of how your opening, body, and closing looks like. This is now the new model where you have the opening statements done. You have boxes for each of your stories. So when you are actually scripting it in your Word document, try to box out your story so you know whether you're covering each part in it. Now we spoke about decorating your speech with content, right? So what I'm going to do first is, we spoke about dialogue. So I would use a different color for dialogues where you have a person speaking or you addressing the audience. Have a different color so you know that you have enough dialogue in your speech. If everything looks the same color, you don't know whether you have dialogues or not. You could use apostrophes, inverted commas, etc., but those are difficult to trace. If you use a different color, you're easy to trace. So you know in your 2-page Word document, okay, I have dialogue here, I have dialogue here, I have dialogue here. Good. Humor. I have humor here, I have humor here, I have humor here. Or humor does not guarantee that the audience will laugh. You're hoping it does, but at least you've put it in there. You've put the effort, right? So kudos for the effort. Have a different color for humor where you're trying to have humor. So you know that you have enough places in your speech where you're attempting humor. Your power phrase. Make sure that you have your power phrase at appropriate moments in your speech and definitely at the ending. That's how you know. And you see, all of this comes when you are scripting your speech itself. These are not going to come if the speech is in your mind. You've got to put it down on paper. You've got to structure it in such a way that you're able to see all of these things and make sure they are there, right? Now, one thing I want you to notice is when you have these different colors, it's easy to observe in your speech. Okay, this place is completely black. I've got to do something here. Let me revisit. Let me see if there's something I can do there. If you have power phrases repeating, that is saving you space, number of words, which allows you to emote more. We all know that your international speech is for 7 minutes. Different people speak in different rates. My suggestion to all of you would be write for 6 minutes and you deliver that speech in 6 minutes, 30 seconds. Or write for 5 minutes, 30 seconds and deliver that speech in 6 minutes, 30 seconds, right? Don't write for 7 minutes and try to deliver that in 6.5. No, write lesser and try to deliver that in with more expressions, more emotions, pauses, effects, everything put together, right? It's not just a number of words, it's what you do on stage that matters, right? So you want to write for lesser and present more, right? Okay, closing is where you want to put your realization message, and definitely you want to have the power phrase back there. Rules for the power phrase we already know. It has to be small, 6 to 8 words, it has to have a certain rhythm to it. It should be memorable. That's when it's most effective. So try to use this structure. By the way, whenever this meeting is anyway recorded, so do access the recording. Take as much notes as you want. If you want to take screenshots, pictures, feel free to do that. There's no proprietary material here. This is all just my stuff. Moving on now. Now we come to the final bit of it. Why do I say final? When you are scripting your speech, the last thing that I want you to work on is the opening and the closing, right? I know I did say start with the end in mind. The end is not the closing. The end is the impact of the speech, right? What is the result that you want from the speech? The result is only I want to be first place. Fair enough. The result is I want to influence the audience. Fair enough. Whatever it is. The opening and the closing is probably what you should write last. And I would say of all the things, write the opening at the extreme last. Because you want to definitely create an attention grabbing opening, have the impact right at the beginning. You see our dear friend, does anyone remember his name? The gentleman who we see on the picture Who has his clothes on in the wrong order? World champion of public speaking. Does anyone remember his name?
Darren.
Darren Tay, absolutely right, AD Rajesh. Darren Tay had his speech outsmart, outlast, and he shocked everyone with his opening where he put his clothes on in the reverse order, as you can see. Now, you don't need an opening as shocking as that. However, the idea is to grab the audience's attention right at the beginning. If you remember Muhammad Ghaitani's speech, he had a cigarette up there and he was acting as he was going to light it up. Another shocking opening. See, it does not have to be extremely shocking. However, the idea is that you're able to grab the audience's attention right at the beginning. This allows you time to set into the story, what is going to come up next, and bring the audience into your speech right at the beginning. You want them on your side. The secret is to the opening is that the game time is the first 30 seconds. So you want to spend enough time crafting that first 30 seconds when you're writing your speech, because here is when the audience decides whether they're going to spend the next 7 minutes listening to you or go back to their mobile phones and WhatsApp messages and shopping lists or chat with the guest who just walked in. This is when they're deciding. So if you lose the first 30 seconds, it's difficult to win your audience back after that. But if you win the first 30 seconds, whatever the content that comes on, if it goes up and down also, they're still with you. So then it's just a matter of holding on to them, right? So you want to capitalize on the first 30 seconds. So when you're scripting your speech, finish off the body and then come back to the opening and see how you can maximize. By then you will have enough ideas or familiarity with your content to come up with an intriguing opening. So keep that till the end and then come back and write the opening. Maximize the impact in the first 30 seconds at any cost. That is the game changer for you, right? The last part is, of course, closing. We all know the fundamental basic that you have to tie the opening to the closing. The reason is any loop that you open, you have to close, right? Otherwise, it just loses its effect and just lies there. So you want to tie it up, make it a full circle, complete experience. This is not just in speeches, by the way. If you watch any movie, you can see that whenever something comes, it always closes or repeats itself somewhere later on, because there has to be a complete closure to any thought that you put into your audience's mind. It's a basic NLP technique about closing loops. So tie your opening to your closing. If you have your power phrase, the phrase that pays, tagline, make sure it's there right at the end. Somewhere, doesn't have to be the very last statement, but somewhere at the end, it's got to be there. And where do you finish the speech? You finish the speech like the gentleman on the picture here, up close, center of the stage, right up front, near, as close to the audience as the stage permits, hands spread out wide, up close to the audience. This is your closing position. This is where you want to end your speech, not at the back, not at the side, not in any other position. You want to be right up close to your audience, because the ending is where you are leaving the audience. And then you come to the ultimate realization that in the end, it was always about the audience. The story was yours, the message was yours, but who was it for? It was for the audience. So that's where you want to end it. If you remember Dhananjay Hettiarachchi's speech, I see something in you. Throughout his speech, the different gurus in his story are telling him, I see something in you, but I don't know what it is. I see something in you. In the end, he tells the audience, when I look at you, I see something in you, but I don't know what it is. So in the end, the last statement has to be crafted in such a way that it is addressed to the audience. You can say we, fair enough. We includes the audience and yourself. Better if you can say you, right? But either of these work, we or you, both will work. But in the end, your final statement needs to be addressed to the audience, because that's who this whole story was always about. And when you script your speech, spend time on those final statements, because that's what the audience leaves with, the last word. And this has to bring energy to the crowd. The reason being, I will tell you, what happens once you finish your speech? Once you've said your last statement, what happens? Can anybody unmute and just shout it out? What happens immediately after your last word? You can either put it in the chat.
Yeah,
The applause, correct? You're absolutely right. The applause happens. What else happens other than the applause?
Audience reflects.
Audience reflects, thinks about it. So the applause, audience reaction, all of it is the same thing. I'll tell you something else important that happens after your last word. After your last word, the judges start marking you. So the energy you leave them with is the difference between a 60 and a 70, or a 75 and an 85. If your last sentence is low energy and low tone, automatically that's where they're going to mark you from. They're going to review your speech from that energy level. But if you leave everyone at a gusto, at an emotional high, you've brought the energy up, they're all rallying, bouncing around, imagine where your marks are going to be. Use those sentences to your impact. This is where the scripting makes a difference there. Take some time, craft that last statement out for you. It's got to be impactful. It's got to be about the audience. It's got to be impactful, right? So craft out when you're scripting, craft out how you're going to use that last speech. So just to recap everything, messages that matter are the most important thing before you start your speech itself. The content has to be fact. You want to be sure what you want your audience to feel, act, and think. For storytelling, you use the 5C storytelling model. Does anyone remember what the 5 C's are? If you can, just unmute and shout it out. What are the 5 C's? Yeah, you got to unmute yourself, guys. Yeah, Mini, I can see your lips moving.
Fantasy,
Yeah,
Character.
curiosity,
characters, conflict,
Characters.
cure, change,
cure, change, and conflict. You're absolutely
And
right.
conflict.
Good job, Rubel. Thankfully, somebody was listening. All right. So the different speech purposes, are to entertain, inform, persuade, and inspire. You got to use these at the correct places in your speech. You got to decorate your speech with your language by writing for the year, by pauses. Rule of 3. Open with a bang, grab the audience's attention, write this at the end only. Close the deal. In the end, who was it all about? It was always about the audience. And if you're able to apply all of these, that ugly looking trophy right in the middle, yep, that's your prize that you're going to get. And all of this is won by scripting it a little different from what you always used to do before.